You don't have to go very far on the internet these days to find something to argue about, but I think there's one thing everyone can agree on. Penguins. Nobody hates penguins, right? How could you? Their funny little waddle, that squeaky squawky bird sound they make, even the fact that they can't fly makes them more endearing somehow. If I ever witnessed one getting eaten by a predator, I'd resign myself to never feeling happiness again, and so would you. So in honor of the human race's favorite animal, today let's talk about the penguin-themed board game, Hey That's My Fish. Hey That's My Fish puts you in control of a team of penguins tasked with collecting as many fish as possible on a rapidly melting ice floe. The ice floe itself is assembled randomly from hexagonal tiles, each containing between 1 and 3 fish. Once the board is set up, players take turns placing penguins on a space of their choice until all pieces are on the board, and then the game begins. On your turn, you pick one of your penguins and move it in one of the 6 directions dictated by the hexagon. You can move the penguin as far as you like in a straight line, but you can't pass through other penguins, open spaces, or the edge of the board. After you move, you take the tile you started from and add it to your collection. What results is a game where the board itself changes shape as the players make moves, and your movement options become more and more limited as the game progresses. If a penguin ever gets trapped on a single tile with nowhere to go, it's removed from the game. Once all penguins are out of movement options, everyone counts up their fish, and the player with the most fish wins. And that's it. I don't usually finish a rules explanation that quickly, but then again, this game is very small. So why am I devoting an entire video to a game I can explain in 2 minutes? Mainly because I feel the need to get the word out. Once you get past the cartoony exterior and easy to understand rules, you'll quickly realize this game is really mean. Let me explain. In your first game or two of Hey That's My Fish, you'll likely focus on the tiles with the most fish, and make moves to get your penguins to those tiles as quickly as possible. It seems like a sound strategy, and the result is a game that feels like an honest foot race. Whoever's penguin team gets the most fish the quickest will win. Pretty harmless, right? But then it dawns on you that you can use the melting ice mechanic to your advantage, and instead of running straight to all the big fish tiles, you start paying more attention to where the enemy penguins are positioned, and how you can trap them and eliminate them from the game. Taking that idea a step further, you can build boundaries of disappearing tiles to section off parts of the ice floe that only your penguins can access, leaving the other penguins with no fish and no hope. And did I mention this game is really mean? Putting the ethics of stranding your opponents on a melting ice island to starve to death aside for a moment, it's genuinely impressive how much strategic depth there is in this cute little penguin game. Even more so because the game is so easy to explain. Once you know your goal and 2 or 3 easy to remember movement rules, you're off and running in a couple of minutes. In fact, setting up a game of Hey That's My Fish takes longer than explaining how it works, and that brings me to my only complaint. Setting it up is kind of fiddly. The game instructs you to arrange all the tiles randomly in alternating rows of 7 and 8, and though this isn't a difficult task, it does take time. And if you're OCD like I am, you're going to be looking to make sure that the fish on the board are in a roughly even distribution, which often means swapping some tiles around after setup. I know people who have experience setting up a game like Gloomhaven are going to find it pretty rich them complaining about something this small, and sure, point taken. But considering how quick it is to teach and play, Hey That's My Fish is a game that encourages and even benefits from multiple plays in a single sitting. Stopping after every game to collect all the tiles, arrange them in their starting setup, and then eyeballing that setup to ensure that the board is balanced is a jarring break in flow. However, that's the only bad thing I can think of to say about this game, and as criticisms go, setup takes longer than I like isn't exactly a deal breaker. Hey That's My Fish is one of those games that I'm willing to show to anybody, regardless of their experience with board games. It has an easy barrier of entry for newcomers to the hobby while also having enough strategic depth to keep the grizzled gaming veterans interested. Just be prepared to see the meaner side of penguins.